Good morning, good people of Delta State, the people with the big hearts. Welcome to Quest Television and Quest 93.1 FM. Today is the 29th day in the month of November in the year 2023. And yes, we're gradually rounding things up this year, especially in this month of November. But with that being said, it is now time for us to look into the headlines making the rounds on the front pages of all the dailies. My name is Ulrika Bimaram, and with that being said, welcome once more to the newspaper review here on Quest Today. Making a return back to the studios this morning are 4 newspapers. Yes, we have 4 newspapers up for review, and they are namely The Nation, the Vanguard newspaper, the Daily Trust, and the Nigerian Tribune as well. And it's a full house here in the studio as usual. I have with me my colleague Alex Ogbunaya, and also Comrade Efe Odomo. Yes, if you're new to the newspaper review, well, Comrade Odomo is our unordained bishop. Yes, the bishop refused to get ordained, but he's always here throwing lights, you know, on the matters making the rounds on the dailies. Good morning, gentlemen.
I have no limit in my jurisdiction. That's why I remain the unordained. I can go to anywhere, conduct any mass, and come back. Nobody asks me questions.
Even to the mosque.
Exactly.
The mosque,
I think I will agree with you on this issue.
Okay, I believe there's one Nigeria sitting down over there. Well, with that being said, let's head straight into the papers, and the first paper for review this morning is the Vanguard. And on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, Tinubu's new $8.6 billion loan bid takes debt above $51.759 billion. The writer there says, all right, we have a couple of writers, but I'll just take a couple. It says, request part of 2022 to 2024 external borrowing plan for critical infrastructure, and also president to present 2024 appropriation bill to joint session of NAS today. Total domestic debt as at June is 54.130 trillion naira, and also analysts and experts seek proper utilization and accountability. Do also get all of that on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving above the masthead, we have a military onslaught forced 160,000 terrorists to lay down arms, says Zelum. But you can get more details on that on page 13. Moving on to page 9 of the Vanguard, it says it's talking about alleged fraud. A Mayfield North owner of firm awarded 1.2 billion naira contract, says a witness. But you can get more details on that on page 9. Moving below, we have Imo DPO and officers to face sanction over alleged escape of suspected rapists. It's making it to page 11. And also on controversial judgment, says we'll do our best to reform justice sector, says the AGF. Get more details on that on page 9. On page 8 of the Vanguard, says it's possible to grow $1 trillion economy in 10 years, says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. For more details on that, you can get on page 8 of the Vanguard. And appeal court affirms Fubara as Rivers governor. You can get more details on that on page 12. On the sports section, it says Pasiero's tribe runs out as technical committee ready to wield axe. You can get more details on that on page 39. And well, we don't end things here without going to the Mr. and Mrs. column of the Vanguard. It says Mr. is speaking, because now it seems as though this man taking the lead. Yeah, the table is turning. It says nothing must happen to the money I kept on top of the drawer. As the head of this house and the head of this family, I can put my things anywhere I want. And then Mrs. replies, well, cars are parked at owner's risks. And I think I stand with Mrs. on this.
the level of the thinking of these people, I don't think it's from this planet Earth.
Okay, but that's what you can take on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Over to you, Alex.
Okay, let's zoom straight to the Daily Trust. And of course, trust that there are so many stories up for review this morning on the Daily Trust, and even 6 fresh 7.1 trillion naira loans. That's the lead story on this front page to fund agri, health, road, water sectors. Nigeria's debt hits 94 trillion naira. Rising debt profile worrisome. Must expand revenue base, experts. That's the lead story on the front page of the Daily Trust. Above or directly below the masthead, Kano election judgment disparity, urging judicial officials, I beg your pardon, to be punished, NJC. And airlines must pay compensation for cancelled and delayed flights. Federal government, this is a very good one, very, very good one. NSITF crisis festers despite Lalonde's intervention, panel deepens row. You can read up that story on page 32 of the Daily Trust. And still on the front page of the Daily Trust, leadership crisis rocks Bauchi Assembly as court sacks speaker, deputy. I think the flock will scatter. That's on page 11. Electoral reform, Jega advocates prescription of cross-carpeting, INEC unbundling. That's also a good one. 11 traders die in Kirby Road accident. You can read up that story on page 26 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And finally, on the Daily Trust, subscribers grumble over data depletion rate. Ooh, I thought I was the only one grumbling. Okay, you can read up this on page 19 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And then, of course, that's all from the Daily Trust.
Okay, the next paper for review is The Nation. And on the front page of The Nation newspaper, the major headline says, Speaker Ayedatiwa to send quit letter. Get more details on that on page 4, but it seems a lot is going on over there. Comrade, I'm sure you'd like to comment on this later.
Definitely I will.
But moving above the masthead, says President seeks $8.6 billion and 100 million euros loans to improve livelihood. Get more details on that on page 4. And fulfill $100 billion pledged on climate change. Tinubu tell US and EU. Get more details on that on page 28 of The Nation newspaper. Moving over, we have Emefiele yet to meet bail conditions and back in prison. Yes, the saga continues, but you can read that story on page 4. And Obaseki should have consulted me on successor, says Shuaibu. It's making it to page 27 of The Nation newspaper. And that's the much you can take on the front page of The Nation.
Okay, finally from me, the Nigeria Tribune newspaper, we go to Ondo State for a very first story. Ayedatiwa, Ondo Speaker reveals details of deal brokered by Tinubu. You can read up that story on pages 2 and 13. The deal will definitely shock you. I know Comrade Odomo is waiting to delve into that one. Ekiti government sues Chief Dami's pastor, demands 10 million naira damages. Page 24 is where you find that story. Minister of Power to prioritize metering, distribution, transmission, infrastructure. That's on page 7. Son of Ogumosho to get staff of office December 19th. Alleged procurement fraud, Emefiele yet to meet bail conditions. Court adjourns hearing to January 2024. You can read up all the details on page 28 of the Nigeria Tribune. Senate passes 57 billion naira police trust fund budget. Oshaba to chair Olamiti's book launch on Thursday. That's on page 30. And Tinubu seeks National Assembly's approval for 8.6 billion naira, 100 million euros, I beg your pardon, 2022-2024 borrowing plan. All of that can be found on page 20. Okay, now let's see if I can get the page. Okay, let's forget about it now. I can't see it, it's so hidden. Finally, Niger Republic Northern senators ask ECOWAS to lift sanctions. That's above the masthead of the Tribune newspaper. And it comes with rider urge Tinubu to restore electricity supply, task military junta to roll out the transition plan and release the ousted president. All of that can be found on page 10. That's that from the Nigeria Tribune. All
right, at this point we've taken all the headlines on the front pages of all the dailies I mentioned earlier, which is The Nation, the Vanguard, the Nigerian Tribune, as well as the Daily Trust newspaper. And at this point it is now time for you to call into the show and have your say regarding any of the headlines that you heard on front pages that we mentioned earlier. Yes, the numbers to call up there on your screen, and they still remain the same for radio. Yes, 081 888 888 931 and 08022 931 931. Okay, let's see if we have a call right now. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. All right, while we wait for those calls to come in, comrade. Yes, this is the point where you're all mine right now. The headlines are quite interesting this morning. We have a couple, but let's first of all talk about money, because as we know, money makes the world go round.
Money makes women change their mind at a very short second, even without notice.
Come back. Okay. So, Tinubu's 6 fresh 7.1 trillion loans. As at this point, Nigeria's debt is now at about 94 trillion naira. Now, he says in 10 years we can build a $1 trillion economy. My question is this: have we even been paying off any debts at all? And now that we're now at 94 trillion naira as in debts, do you even see us hitting the 100 trillion benchmark, or do you think we're going to at some point, reduce these debts in one way or the other?
Well, Maria, thank you. It's going to be a difficult situation. There is a saying that if you fool me for the first time, the person fooling me, is a fool. But if you fool me for a second time successfully, then I am the fool this time around. What are we talking about? These loans every day. The first one, they gave us tourists, we bought it. Second one, they gave us tourists, we bought it. So we are now with them at the fools that the country is pushing anywhere they belong. We were thinking that the president would do things differently from the other ones. He claims to be a master of economy, master of business administration and all these things. Not MBA, but he knows too well about the business environment that he should be able to paddle the ship of the country to a very safe landing waters. But what do we have? Still continue to borrow on daily basis. What are the assets you are putting in place to pay these loans? Because in essence, you are mortgaging the future of the unborn child. One day, like I normally say, we can be going somewhere like you can be going in the street of war. Somebody will tap your back and say, Mary, follow me. You are now my property because I have bought you over. When our debt profile accumulates to a point that we can no longer pay, then we go into receivership. When the country goes into receivership, you know what happens. It happened one of the eastern countries, I don't want to mention this, they started with K and ended with A. You see, most of their assets are now being controlled by the foreign bodies. We don't pray we fall into that situation. What I should think the government should do, or that they are not doing, all these are our moribund assets. If you can borrow those money, fine, put those assets in order. Then you are very sure of getting income to repay those loans. You don't borrow money for revenue. If you borrow money to feed, how do you pay back? Because there is no source of inflow. We are talking about many trillions. Or the oil price is not stable now. Nothing is stable in the international market. And you expect that one day you will get out of the woods? It's definitely and desperately impossible.
Okay, well, over to you, Alex.
Yeah, I think what tickled my fancy here.
Okay, I think we have a phone call
now. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and your location, please.
Yes, this is Sonny calling from Owerri. I want to very much appreciate the comrade there for what he has said. Nigeria is in problem. We need patriotic leadership that is committed to reviving the economy. Corruption, any government that is unable to fight corruption will not succeed in this country. That is the truth of the matter. Our leaders should be prepared to help this country. The country is sinking. It's sinking. According to Awolowo, at that time, he said the ship of the nation is drifting towards a rock, and it requires expertise to share it, otherwise the country will suffer. So the country is suffering now. So we cannot continue to borrow and borrow and borrow without any purpose. We should stop borrowing. Borrowing is becoming too much. We have become slaves to borrowing. I rest my case.
All right,
like what the guy just said now. You know Fidel Castro, when he was approached to pay the loans they took from the international bodies, the man said, look, our forefathers that were taken into slavery have already paid in advance. That is called Bratty Plan. Which also introduced what is called Bratty Plan in Nigerian situation. Now, going away from that a bit, the borrowings we are doing now, we don't have any purpose for it. You are borrowing this volume of money. You are using 160 million to buy one person a car. You are using 1.57 billion naira to buy one person a car. And you are telling the masses and the whole world that you are broke. Look, if you say you are a broker, that is the Ajegule English, and somebody comes to draw you his debt, you are owing him. He met you drinking Gary with a lap of chicken, and if he's telling you he doesn't have money, will you ever believe that person?
Well, one thing I do know we have to do right now is take more phone calls. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, welcome on board. Your name and your location, please.
This is Chief Duku, calling from Ekegebo.
Chief Duku, welcome. Please have your say.
Yes, I want to greet our ordained bishop.
Oh yes, this will be with you always.
Yeah, man. You see, one thing that is confusing me now is that who is a leader? When you elect somebody to a position, what is his work? Is his work to be spending? Is that the only way? Because if you look at the president or the former president and this one, they just come on board and they cry that there's no money. Then they start borrowing. So the government's duty is just to be spending money. So it's not, their duty is not part of how to generate money any longer. So the thing is surprising. Because when you budget, your budget is how to get the fund and how to spend it. You must equate them. But in our own case now, it's only how to spend. And when the money is not there, you go out and borrow. Is that how to run a country? Is that how they run their personal business?
All right, thank you very much, Chief Duku. But you know, still here on the front page of the Daily Trust, this money being borrowed is to be used to fund the agric, the health, the road, and the water sectors. I think I think that's a good one. But do you see this actually coming to reality?
I have not seen it. If we actually follow,
I mean, this is the first time we're having President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as our president. You know,
so we've never had the president 2 times.
No, we've not had him particularly. So, do you see this even? Do you see any form of change, you know, coming from him and his administration, as he said?
You know, definitely we have to be hopeful because you can't actually identify a little child as a barren when she has not grown up. You can only somebody that is grown up that can be a barren. He's still in the adolescent stage. That is the administration. But the only thing I see there is the coordinating minister for the economy, that's Wale Edun. I think he has been speaking tough and he has been following his words. We pray that it's not derailed at the end of the day. Because most of these public officers we actually blame. It's never their fault, if we have to be truthful and sincere. When you are given a public office, your people will rally around you. The first thing they will tell you is that go there and make sure that you don't come back empty. Because if you do, you are on your own. They plant this seed of corruption into their mind in most cases. But it's not every one of them. Like the video I was showing you this morning, a child that is being dedicated. The woman that is dedicating the child is selling the whole crowd that this child will grow up to become a senator, will grow up to become a governor, to also continue stealing. Is it not so? Everybody said yes. You're already planting that type of seed in the mind of that little baby. How do you think the little baby will grow up? So if the agriculture and the other sectors they're talking about, if actually Nigeria can stabilize the agricultural sector, if you take food away from the problem of man, I think the demand is 50% solid. You know, so I don't understand how this government should fail. Ahmed Tinubu succeeded in Lagos very well because he used people that knows what to do. That man asked the question. That's Chief Duku. Yes, that who is a leader? A leader is not just the person that sits on the chair and starts giving directives. No. A leader is that man that knows where he's going, how to get there, and how to carry people along, and be able to know those that will succeed him to carry up that goal. That is a leader.
Let's pause for a while now. Let's go to those states where Aiyedatiwa and Rotimi Akeredolu are still, you know, battling. You know, information reaching us said that there's an agreement reached. You know, Tinubu met the 2 of them, and that recently we just heard that part of the agreement is that Aiyedatiwa should submit an unsigned resignation letter. How does that strike you? So
that if he doesn't perform, he will resign? Well, they'll
just put a date. Sorry, an undated resignation letter.
So that if the time comes, so he could not meet what they agreed, they just date it and they submit it and the guy is out of office.
This is in a state where the governor has been a wall for God knows how long.
But the civil servants or the civil service regulation has a time period that when you are not in the office, automatically you are out of that office. Why are they not invoking that power now? Why don't they invoking that power? Ondo State has been a volatile state right from the time of Adekunle Ajasin, Omoboriwo, you know. Exactly. It has been, and that something continues. Somebody that was voted in that could not perform, it's very, very necessary that the person leaves office for the next person. It's not a lifetime issue.
Well, taking a note from that, it is now time for us to leave this place to allow the next person.
If I say I'm not leaving, I'm going to relocate to Ibadan and stay there.
Oh, okay, correct.
Good for you.
Good for you. But with that being said, thank you very much for coming on air today, and we do hope to have you tomorrow. Is this true?
Thank you. God bless you. Jesus tarries, tomorrow we'll meet again.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for keeping it real here on the newspaper review, and also thank you to the Vanguard newspaper for sponsoring the newspaper review here on Quest. From myself and my crew, bye for now, and have yourself a lovely Wednesday.